He said his name was Raymond. Well, I've changed the name to protect the not so innocent. He also said that he was in his mid-50s, that he lived in a city centre apartment and drove a black Mercedes. Oh, ticking a few boxes there. On further conversation, he also said that whilst he was only 5'7", he realised that he was just a little bit taller than mine, 5'3" and a bit, which I thought was quite sweet. Then he also said that his brown hair was going grey at the temples and that, like myself, he wore designer spectacles. Oh, ticking a few more boxes there. I was building this image in my mind of a sophisticated businessman. Anyway, we decided to meet. We said we'd have a coffee during the afternoon in a well-frequented coffee bar. Well, you have to be careful, don't you? Yes. Come the day, I was a bag of nerves. I thought, come on, Carol, 52-year-old, I know this is a first, but, get on with it. So I decided to dress quite classically. So not too much makeup, my hair just so, a touch of perfume, and I wore long black trousers, a nice white blouse and a long navy blue coat, and of course flat shoes, because had I worn my stilettos, I might have been just a little bit taller than him. I didn't want to embarrass him that way. Well, when it was time to go, my heart was thumping. I drove down to the car park and I was early, quarter of an hour early. I thought, well, at least that gives me time to compose myself. And I would be able to see his car driving down towards me. He knew what mine looked like, so I took a deep breath and I was just reading a little bit of something to while away the time when I heard this noise and I thought, what's that? It sounds like a gunshot. And I looked up to see this black Mercedes driving down towards me, but it was a clapped-out shed. Now, that is my own fault for assuming that a semi-retired businessman would drive a half-decent car. Anyway, he pulled up alongside of me and I thought, come on, Carol, best acting head on. And I got out at my side, by which time he'd walked round to my side, and I looked down on this little chap that just about reached my shoulder. And I looked at him and I thought, oh, yeah, right, you've stretched a point there. Untick that box, Carol, that and the car. And then I took in how he looked otherwise. Brown hair, going grey at the temples. It was non-existent. He was bald. Why lie about it? There's nothing wrong with being bald. Just why lie about it? Mid-50s? You could have added 10, 15 years onto that. And as for the designer glasses, they were bottle bottoms. I thought, Carol, stop being judgmental. And she might be very nice to talk to, so just get on with it. So we introduced ourselves, shook hands. He didn't want to leave go of my hand. He was a bit touchy-feely. His hands were all over the place, a bit like an octopus. Anyway, we walked across to the coffee bar and sat on a little table opposite each other. I didn't want to sit on a sofa. I didn't know where his hands might think they might wander. And we had our coffee and he started to tell me about his life and where he lived. And it transpires that these meetings he'd had at the hotel where we'd met in the car park were residence meetings because he lived in sheltered accommodation. Now, as if that wasn't bad enough, I mean, all these boxes are all unticked anyway, but all the time he was talking, his false teeth were clacking like that. And I thought, I can't do this. I really can't do this. So I threw my coffee down my neck and I stood up and I said, I've got to go. I've got some shopping to do. And he said, I'll come with you. So we walked across to the shops and there was a craft shop there. I said, I've got to go in here. I didn't really, but needs must. Well, he came with me, didn't he? And of course, being mid-January, there was a whole display there of Valentine's ephemera. Well, he goes over to this display and he only picks up a pair of pink fluffy handcuffs and says, I'll get these for later, shall I? And winks at me. Oh, well, I completely lost the plot. And I ran down this aisle and I bumped into a friend of mine and I said, Mary, Mary, what am I going to do? And I told her the whole scenario. And she said, Carol, pull yourself together. You're going to have to go back down there and tell him that you're not interested. You're right, Mary, of course I have. So I pulled myself together, took a deep breath, turned on my heel and marched purposefully down the aisle, only to have the wind taken out of my sails, because there he was, paying for these pink, fluffy, blessed handcuffs and waving them at me. Well, then I really lost the plot, and I shot past him. I said, I'm going now, I'm going now. And I ran to my car, and my fingers were all fingers and thumbs trying to get the keys out. And I jumped in my car, and I drove like the clappers all the way home. And I got in, and I shut all the doors, and I shut the curtains, and I leant against the door and heaved a sigh of relief. And I thought, oh, never again, never again am I going to put myself through that. But that was 20 years ago, and I have had several adventures since then. But that, as they say, my friends, is a whole other story.